Thank you, Ted. That was fantastic. Good morning. Welcome to our members and our guests. It is indeed a pleasure and an exceptional honor to present the Presidential Address for the 138th Annual Congress of the American Surgical. I am indeed blessed to have served for the past year as the president of this association, representing the leadership in academic surgery in America. I have always had the utmost respect for this organization and our outstanding membership, and I never dreamt that I would one day be given the great privilege of serving as its president. Before I begin, as you heard, I want to acknowledge a few very special guests in the audience. My wife, Lauren, my son, Michael, and my daughter, Princess Anna, of whom I am most proud and who have been my constant support, life balance, and soul throughout my career. I cannot begin to adequately thank Lauren, Michael, and Anna. They have sacrificed through the many distractions created by my career and have always been there to support, console, and provide unlimited love. It is truly a great joy that they have been able to be here to attend the meeting to celebrate with me. When contemplating the subject for my address, as many who have opined before me found it indeed a daunting challenge. The options were many, but I searched for a topic I hope would be current and relevant for this audience and the membership. In the end, the various options melded into one. I decided to address a core tenet of our laudable association. We are at the core academicians and educators. That is why we were chosen as members of this association and why we're proud to be members. In addition, many are the current leaders and many will become the leaders of American surgery. We take this role very seriously. We have excelled in our achievements and our successes have led the way in medicine. Fulfilling this role is in so many ways our calling. As an organization, we have had a busy year, and you've heard bits and pieces of it, but I believe that we have taken on the challenges that are facing the organization and academic surgery as we transition through dramatic changes in our greater society and in academic medicine. The vitality and leadership of this organization is unparalleled, and it is indeed appropriate to continue our role of leadership in supporting and moving these initiatives forward. As mentioned by our immediate past president, Dr. Keith Lillymo, in his presidential address, mentorship is a long-standing core tenet of academic surgery. The inherent value of mentorship has been well established and ingrained in our fabric. Mentorship is derived from ancient times when the original mentor, shown here, was appointed overseer and educator for Telemachus, son of Odysseus, king of Ithaca, while the king departed to fight in the Trojan Wars. While the challenges that Telemachus was facing to fend off men trying to take over his house and seduce his mother were quite different from current professional challenges, challenges of providing mentorship, although they have constantly evolved, still remain. The traits and character exemplified by mentor have continued to be critical for mentorship today as the concept has evolved to include trusted advisor, friend, teacher, sponsor, supporter, and coach. The role has become enriched and deepened to become synonymous with the most laudable actions of our great surgical leaders of the past and the present. William S. Halsted, the father of modern surgery, created our current Halstedian model of the trainee learning from a mentor until capable of performing a procedure independently and safely. When a surgical leader is asked, why choose academics? As you heard during the presentations by the honorary members this morning, the answer invariably includes to teach and enhance the next generation, to disseminate surgical knowledge, and know that we are helping advance the care of surgical patients many times over through the dedication and care provided by our students. We have chosen to enter academic surgery knowing that we may need to sacrifice our own goals to provide knowledge and optimal potential to our trainees. In his presidential address as the president of the American College of Surgeons in 2006, our current vice president of the American Surgical, Dr. Ted Copeland, stated, "The mentor establishes for the protege the professional ethics that are long-lasting after the protege leaves the guidance of the mentor." He went on to state, "Our core values that we hope to propagate include respect for patients, colleagues, and trainees. We are indeed the teachers and mentors of the next generation, and we take great pride in the success of our junior colleagues and students. Personally, as you saw, one of my most cherished honors was receiving the University of Washington Award for Excellence in Mentoring Women. Our respected leaders in surgery demonstrate unselfish commitment without consideration for self-advancement to their mentees' progress and happiness. We are the teachers, coaches, sponsors, and supporters of our mentees. And although it is not always without disagreement or resistance, as shown here with Aristotle and Plato arguing as to which realm was most relevant to the future, we are most pleased when the student outperforms the teacher. As stated in the newly released Optimal Resources for Surgical Quality and Safety, known as the Red Book from the American College of Surgeons, quote, "Mentoring and coaching relationships are vital to any department of surgery or surgical practice. These relationships form the bedrock upon which we achieve the highest possible standards, improve quality, and recruit and retain new members of our community who will have the optimal opportunity for career success and job satisfaction. Hence, shared goals, shared values, and mutual respect between mentors and mentees are required for success. Mentoring is a fundamental and critical form of human development where the one person invests time, energy, and personal knowledge in assisting the growth and potential of another. Each of us has a birthright to actualize our potential. And our calling as surgical leaders requires that we provide that mentoring and support. Simultaneously, we also recognize that before we became a mentor, we were a mentee. Each of us has many examples of those individuals that selflessly committed and sacrificed so much for us. In fact, our own mentors are why most of us chose the path we have chosen and the specialty we practice. They were our role models that not only taught us clinical surgery, but so many other great attributes necessary for success. They were our role models teaching by example, demonstrating on a daily basis the attributes of humility and other components necessary of a true leader. Personally, I have been blessed with exposure and true friendship offered by so many leaders in surgery and in this organization. While the list could go on for pages, I've chosen three that have been most influential in my own career. The first is C. James Carrico, Donald D. Trunke, and Carlos A. Pellegrini. Dr. Carrico was my first chief as his role as chief of surgery at Harborview. He would subsequently become the chair of surgery at the University of Washington and continue in his role as mentor, sponsor, coach, and supporter for my entire career. He repeatedly and continuously demonstrated the highest ethical qualities, including the respect of each individual, team building, inclusiveness, and development and commitment to the needs of others rather than advancement of himself. A second mentor and the namesake for the chair in trauma that I hold at the university is Donald D. Trunke. Dr. Trunke is recognized for his decades of leadership as an academic surgeon, including his past presidency of the American Surgical Association, attesting to his stature in American surgery. He is recognized as the father of modern trauma care system development, creating the verification process for trauma centers at the American College of Surgeons. This bold, seminal step towards self-assessment, recognition of needed improvements, and quality assurance placed surgery as the leader among all medicine in fostering these values of patient-focused care long before the concept was broadly recognized and adopted. But foremost, he was known by young trauma surgeons of my generation as a colleague and friend. He was always available, willing to provide insight and support our careers. Personally, he was a role model and welcoming resource to myself. While Dr. Trunke is not able to attend the meeting, I spoke with him recently, and he sends his best wishes to our organization and his many colleagues, friends, and mentees. The third mentor is Carlos A. Pellegrini, also a past president of our association and known to most in the audience. He and I have spent the past 25 years working together and have grown to be true friends and confidants. For those who know Carlos well, his qualities are truly exceptional. His commitment to high ideals, his fairness, his acceptance of diversity, and his willingness to help with all whom he meets are legendary. He has mentored me literally through thick and thin. He has always been there for me. He has role modeled for me the true meaning of emotional intelligence. His ability to reach out and connect with others and recognize what is best for their relationship and for their growth is unimaginable. His help has continually increased my admiration and respect in his daily interactions. He created a world-class Department of Surgery built on respect with an environment of support and caring. Last year, in his excellent presidential address, Keith Lillimo asked in his address, surgical mentorship, a great tradition, but can we do better for the next generation? Or to rephrase, do we as mentors need to further evolve and broaden our reach to better optimize the inherent potential of all members of our surgical communities? To begin to address the multiple issues and rapid changes affecting our greater society, and to explore how the American surgical might address the challenges within academic surgery, I appointed an ad hoc task force on equity, diversity, and inclusion. I charged the task force to identify and define the issues, but most importantly, propose processes and mechanisms to achieve the necessary changes and to utilize as potential approaches to better achieve equity, diversity, and inclusion in our academic homes. The work product was to be similar to the approach of the seminal documents by the American College of Surgeons, the Resources for Optimal Care of the Injured Patient, which has been an international landmark, and the newly produced product I mentioned, Optimal Resources for Surgical Quality and Safety. A call for volunteers to participate produced an overwhelming response, including 63 of our members, including many of the current thought leaders and champions in these arenas. The results of the excellent commitment, extensive deliberations, and numerous conference calls over the ensuing months led to the production of a work product, a playbook, if you will, to enhance documentation, recognition, insights, and inclusivity-driven advice, including linkages to guides, surveys, assessments, key performance initiatives, and benchmarks that can be used by any member of our academic families to optimize involvement, growth, success, and happiness. The document, now entitled Ensuring Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in Academic Surgery, in its final draft form was presented to the Executive Committee for review and consideration and was approved upon its final completion for access and dissemination through the association website. The goal of our project is to produce a living document which will hopefully continue to mature and evolve to provide assistance to our academic communities and departments to achieve the goals we all aspire to reach. Our calling and what it entails is at the core of our profession and is indeed the right thing for us to do. We have long recognized the inherent good of committing to equity, diversity, and inclusion. In 2004, an IOM report identified the urgent need for increased diversity in medicine. The report proposed that diverse healthcare providers would lead to improved access to care for minorities, permit better communication with patients, and produce greater patient-centered care. Now is the right time to confirm our commitment to address this need to move forward and become the leaders for change. A unique and enduring concept of the discipline of surgery is the legacy of critically identifying problems and working to eradicate or improve areas where we fall short. Surgeons have traditionally treated all patients equally and respectfully. However, in contrast to the many areas where surgery has blazed new trails, surgery has been slow to ensure equity and embrace diversity, whether gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or other metric within surgery. It is time to move beyond recognizing the absence of diversity in the surgical family and identify the goals and behaviors that can achieve greater diversity and inclusion. Displayed is a first of a series of photos derived from a series of portraits which were created by one of our trauma care coordinators at Harborview Medical Center, which was created by her to explore, to recognize, and to highlight the diversity within our surgical residency and local community. We need to extend to each member of our surgical family the same considerations with which we have traditionally treated our patients. In the Fellows Pledge of the College, each initiative declares, "I pledge to pursue the practice of surgery with honesty and to place the welfare and the rights of my patient above all else. I promise to deal with each patient as I would wish to be dealt with, and if I were in the patient's position, and I will respect the patient's autonomy and individuality." In fact, in recognition of our current highly diverse society, this tenet, based on the Golden Rule, has actually been modified to the Platinum Rule, where we, in fact, deal with our patients not only as we would wish to be treated ourselves, but as they, based on the entirety of their own unique intersectionality, want to be treated themselves. Equity for all is an intrinsic ethical value and a human right which mandates diversity and inclusion within the community, adding both intrinsic and extrinsic value to the community. Just as surgeons have committed to the benefits of adopting to new techniques and technologies that benefit our patients, we must also adapt our behaviors to improve equity and thus better our surgical community and our society. While we cannot alone change the culture in which we live and practice, we can be catalysts to greater equity in society, which will improve us all. Surgery departments should reflect the broader community or society in which we function. The AAMC has adopted the definition, quote, "underrepresented in medicine, URIM, means those racial and ethnic populations that are underrepresented in the medical profession relative to their numbers in the general population." Academic surgery should lead by example through making concerted efforts to increase diversity and inclusion. Creating and dispersing knowledge that optimally serves the public good is only possible in an environment in which a broad range of perspectives can be voiced and explored. Increased diversity and inclusion in surgery will lead to a greater appreciation of differing points of view about what is best for the increasing diversity and intersectionality of our patient populations. Innovation and creativity depend on and increase with diversity. Diversity is crucial to our success. Diversity will help us toward breaking down the implicit and explicit biases that have perpetuated the underrepresentation of women in URIM in so many facets of surgery. Diversity and inclusion in surgery will further facilitate recruitment and retention, make patients more comfortable with their care, break down barriers to our diverse patient communities, and produce leadership by example by the academic community. In addition, these changes are supported by significant extrinsic benefits. There is increasing documentation from the business and financial spheres that more diverse companies, both gender or ethnic diversity, are more profitable. Groups perform better when the best individuals and the more diverse the team, the better the overall function. And industry groups with differing viewpoints and perspectives have the best result. Furthermore, we have learned from the analogs with the airline industry and others that horizontally integrated teams have enhanced performance and safety. Similarly, in medicine, our overarching goal is to produce better results to enhance patient outcomes and satisfaction. So, where are we currently? How have we done? One can point to the definite successes and progress in society medicine and academic surgery. The ACGME reports that for the first time in 2017, the entering medical school class will have more females than males. Within the American Surgical Association, we continue to increase our gender and URIM populations among the membership. Of the 7 major chairs of surgery filled last year, 5 of the 7 were filled by excellent female candidates. There are, at last count, 21 sitting chairs of surgery held by women. And the number in the American Surgical is likely to grow by 2 or 3 as a result of the membership vote at the business meeting to encompass all 21 sitting chairs. Of the 101 applicants to the American Surgical, 27% were women. The final list for recommendation for membership included 21, which is 34% of the total 62 recommended. Similarly, we are encouraged by increasing involvement of URIM, academic surgery, and the American Surgical Association. However, before we accept the current progress as adequate, we should look at other aspects. When you enter the executive session tomorrow and look around, see if half the members in the room consist of women, or an appropriate proportion of URIM are present to match our greater society ratios. There are 136 women, 8.5% of the total membership of our organization, and 73 or 16% of the active membership. Less thoroughly explored on how well represented are African Americans, Hispanic, LGBTQ, and others from URIM in the greater academic community. On this graph are composites that show the current status of females in academic surgery. This was presented recently by the Surgical Women's Group of my home department at their annual grand rounds. As you can see, 2 take-home points. Although as assistant professors, the break is 50-50, by the time we reach professors, less than 10% are females compared to males. And over here is a very telling figure that while it is true that it takes growth and progression through the ranks, which takes a lag phase, what is also true, as shown here at the pointer, is that it will require, with our current progress, 121 years to rectify the imbalance and level the field. To most, this is a large number. And with the less well-represented URIM in the pipeline, the overall imbalance will require even more effort for the academic community to reach a mirror image of the diversity in our society. In addition, as we just heard in the previous presentation, an easily obtained and objective monitor of this ongoing inequity is the assessment of reimbursement matched to rank, RVUs, other benchmarks. This is the latest self-reported poll from physicians across the country revealed that salaries for females are on average 28% less in this year, 2018, than their male counterparts. Disturbingly, this gap has not gotten better, but actually is worse than the 26.5% that was reported last year by the same group. Our calling. What can or should the surgical academic community do, and how should the American Surgical provide support and leadership to help departments achieve equity? We need to commit to meeting the challenge of creating an environment that supports free and critical inquiry, recognizing that such inquiry is not always comfortable or easy for any of us. Personally, I recognize that I am uncomfortable considering the breadth and the nuances of these challenges. I do not hold myself as an expert or an established leader in this field. However, I take on the challenge to openly discuss and commit to the vast and rapid changes in societal expectations as a necessity and inherently right thing to do. There are those who are true leaders in this movement in the audience and who participated on the task force, and to them I give great thanks for assisting me in the great amount of information I have learned, the knowledge I have taken on, and for assisting me in providing this presentation. This is a complex problem and requires a multiplex response to be successful. For ease of assimilation, the approaches can be broken down in several broad categories. One must recognize also, though, that the Department of Surgery can only control limited aspects of some avenues that should be pursued. However, every department can make an impact, and if persistent, even lead in the changes required for success. Along the continuum of a single recruit, these are the general categories that should be approached. 1, outreach and recruitment. 2, onboarding, support, education, and promotion. 3, transparency and creation of a safe, optimal environment. And 4, leadership, persistence, and resilience in the organization. Of the multitude of concepts to pursue, an increasingly recognized challenge is to understand the individuality of each of us and each of our communities. There is an ongoing need to increase the overall cultural competence of physicians. Our actions are frequently driven by our cultural and daily experiences over our lifetimes. We are the product of what we have been taught explicitly and implicitly, along with the summation of experiences with our greater human family. A result of these imprinting experiences is often subconscious mind's view of the world and those around us. One obvious result of this is the comfort we all feel by being surrounded by those who, quote, look like us. And on the faculty level, we are attracted to mentor based on our similar backgrounds and cultures. To accept fully those, quote, who are different from us, end quote, requires the recognition of our implicit biases and a willingness to accept and address these. A challenge that may come with uncomfortable feelings initially and require intentional effort until our responses, when we are faced with daily decisions, become balanced and unbiased. The demographics of the United States is changing and has become greatly more racially and ethnically diverse than in the past. To change the persistent existing disparities in the workforce, we must understand why there are fewer women and underrepresented minority surgeons in our departments. While the factors involved, such as access and diversity of candidates, will vary with local culture and politics, many departments and institutions have not even openly assessed their own level of diversity. Our traditional attitudes and stereotypes affect our understanding, actions, and decisions. There are online exercises that can give one insight into our own biases that impact how we approach trainees, faculty candidates, and colleagues. This is a first critical step to identify and use the tools needed to mitigate the impact of these biases. Common daily expressions of implicit biases frequently produce microaggressions. The term microaggression was coined in 1970 to describe the often subtle insults and dismissals by non-Black Americans toward African Americans. Categorized into three forms: micro-assault, micro-insult, micro-invalidation, they are brief everyday exchanges that send denigrating messages to select individuals based on components of their intersectionality. These go well beyond race into potentially all facets of intersectionality, from social status, religion, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation. We need to move beyond mere recognition that in addition to explicit bias, these implicit biases exist, and proactively strive to create an environment that promotes safety, advocacy, equity, and inclusion for all. And how do we achieve these goals? The leadership of academic surgery can enable us to reach these goals, I believe. There are many avenues that contribute to this potential. To affect change in any large traditional organization, a similar set of events must occur. First, pre-contemplation. The current status quo is accepted. Secondly, one recognizes there's a lack of equity and diversity and that there's preparation for plans to improve the problem. Third, action is instituted when specific behavioral changes are created through programs and other activities. Fourth, there has to be maintenance with ongoing monitoring to document success and share the success in diversity of hires, retention, promotion, invited speakers, development of diversity committees, and composition on key committees. This public display of transparency will not only benefit the growth of success for the department, but will influence and benefit other departments in the entire institution. How do we enhance our equity and diversity? At the department level, the chairs of surgery face many challenges. However, I'm not sure you can read this in the back. It says, at this departmental meeting, what if we don't change at all and something magical just happens? Which is what leads us to the top of the cartoon. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. We need to face this. To successfully overcome the difficulties, organizational changes, to address areas of concern, and delineating areas of focus to facilitate recruitment is crucial. Creating an environment where diversity is valued and support for women and URIM faculty is present is the basis for change. The first step to creating this environment is recognition. A simple start is to count the number of women and URIM faculty on your department. Do the numbers approach the percentage in your community? There are also tools that specifically characterize the degree of diversity and inclusion of the diverse faculty in your departmental activities. A baseline assessment of the current status of women and URIM is critical to make the case for change. As in science, change, design individual interventions, and allow for measurement of progress requires data. Measurement and data drive accountability, and accountability drives behavioral changes. Buy-in from the leadership is essential. Many institutions have created an Office of Diversity to coordinate all diversity efforts across the entire institution. The office is usually led by a dean or an Office of Diversity and Inclusion to enhance and coordinate staff, faculty, residents, and medical students' efforts is the process. Activities include women in URIM networking events, diversity awards, pipeline efforts with high schools and colleges, transparency of recruitment, focused activities, dedicated websites to enhance the environment and the welcomeness. The chair of surgery should be a leader in these institutional initiatives and support surgical department faculty involvement. In addition, the department needs parallel activities to support the overall institutional effort. Advocacy for diversity, explicit education of all faculty to create a supportive environment, and recognizing a primary role in supporting women and URIM faculty and career development is necessary. A vice chair or diversity officer to support the chair and division chiefs focused on these goals is necessary. Overt identification of recruitment opportunities as a 5-year plan should direct recruitment efforts to fill identified upcoming and current needs of the department. These needs can then inform attendance and identification of potential candidates at meetings and conferences, particularly minority and women-focused events. Importantly, the process of recruitment should specifically address hurdles and biases. Search committees need adequate women and URIM faculty for both a bias-free process and to provide evidence to the recruit of departmental commitment. If necessary, appropriate representation can be obtained from other departments. The search committee should understand the goals and needs of the department to enhance diversity. They should have training such as the AAMC Unconscious Bias online video course for all selection members. A standardized interview process is required with vetted interview questions supported by the diversity committee, and all positions should be advertised to the AAMC Group of Diversity and Inclusion of Minority and Women in Medicine Society websites. Remember to build on diversity successes. Recruitment of diversity will rapidly be recognized, enhance the reputation of the department, and will lead to more women in URIM applicants, residents, fellows, and faculty. Onboarding should be extensive with orientation into the expectations, description of resources for mentoring, promotion and diversity support and guidance. Any deficiencies that the individual faculty member has that will impede advancement of the faculty member is recognized and addressed. There is a frequent lack of knowledge in negotiation skills, which should be provided both to the young faculty and our residents during their training. The American Surgical is co-branding a negotiation course the day before the American College of Surgeons in conjunction with the AWS. During their training, focus, mentorship, and mentors, both in the specialty and outside the specialty, are often necessary. The transition from resident or fellow to faculty is challenging, and each comes with varying strengths and deficiencies. The leadership and for success needs to identify and recognize these potential issues. The ability to succeed, as we heard earlier this morning, in all four legs of the modern academic stool, clinical research, teaching, and administration, is unlikely to be realized. Reality and expectations and need to define one's niche and focus for greatest success often requires assistance for insight from modern-day mentors. The increasing self-selection by residents for additional training and fellowships is beneficial, but still not completely sufficient. The reduction in work hours, the reduction in experiential knowledge, and the lack of potential senior support hampers the progress of the young faculty. The department of today must provide outcomes monitoring, mentorship, and educational intervention to provide training and support for optimal care. To support and provide an optimal environment for success, activities should occur in the department and not merely rely on the broader activities. An overall commitment to transparency and dissemination of diversity and inclusion activities and progress regarding the department is crucial. Examples of departmental activities are an annual diversity lecture, women in surgery and URIM faculty groups, support of involvement in the Association of Women in Surgery, the Society of Black Academic Surgeons, and the Society of Asian Academic Surgeons, with institutional membership and sending faculty, residents, and students to appropriate meetings. Commitment to diversity in the department should be transparent and highlighted. At the University of Washington, the Department of Surgery A&P Committee just recently revised the criteria following input from our diversity committee on explicit recognition of faculty efforts and activities directed to enhancing diversity and inclusivity in support of their promotion through the department. Similarly, as we heard in the previous presentation, compensation should be determined by objective criteria recognized and known by all, and if equality in pay is not achieved, the basis of the disequity should be transparent and based on objective criteria. In addition, recognition of family and child-rearing needs, from parental leave policies that include both mothers and fathers to lactation stations to off-hour child care support, create a caring environment. In addition, with the increasing work expectations and regulatory demands on the young surgeon, additional tools to develop life-work balance and wellness decision-making are needed to choose a more content and complete existence and optimize academic success and ensure high-level patient care. These tools of survival are often not provided during medical school and residency training and need to be readily available within academic departments. A major barrier identified by many is the inability and absence of mentorship. This inequitable availability of mentorship produces a significant impact, leading to frustration, early departure of high-quality faculty from the academic setting. Along with lack of equal mentorship is the absence of role models for both optimal recruitment and retention. As again, you heard from our honorary members this morning, how often do we relate to the great role models in each of our academic lives that not only attracted us to our specialty, but also provided the mentorship and guidance that added so much to our careers and happiness? As has been reported repeatedly in surveys, one of the best ways to recruit and support diversity in our departments is through not only the presence of diversity on the faculty, but even greater is evidence of success in promotion of the diversity population to positions of leadership and authority in the departmental structure. Mentorship to include sponsorship by senior faculty for positions on departmental committees, membership in academic societies and leadership organizations such as the American Surgical American College, American Board, and other leadership groups is critical to maintain involvement and career success. Mentorship opportunities and involvement in the department are very important to recruitment and to encourage more women and underrepresented minorities to remain in surgery, particularly academic surgery. A final critical component is development of a safe and inclusive environment. The environment needs to be welcoming and include all members of the community. It requires that each person be treated with respect. Bullying, harassment, and sexual harassment are destructive to the functioning and achievements of the academic family. Medicine and surgery in particular has traditionally engaged a hierarchical system from the educational to the practice environment. Unfortunately, historically, empowered holders of leadership in surgery have not always used their authority to emulate positive behaviors or set high standards. Some consider our profession as too often utilizing intimidation, harassment, and bullying to the detriment of the less empowered. Those so treated frequently sense fear, humiliation, and anxiety. In addition, those affected are often fearful of voicing complaints due to potential retribution. The outcome can be the loss of these members from the environment and even the profession itself. In addition, the negative impact on the environment impacts patient care, leading to flawed team performance and impaired patient safety. And while any vulnerable group can be impacted, most commonly the targets are minority groups, including women, racial, ethnic, LGBTQ, religious faith, or national origin. The microaggressions we mentioned, the everyday verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights, snubs, or insults, whether intentional or unintentional, can communicate a hostile, derogatory, negative message to individuals based solely upon their marginalized group membership. Recognition is critical to addressing the problem. Many of these slights may not be initially obvious. An example is the category of, quote, alien in one's own land, end quote, expressed by members of the dominant culture calling out others based on physical traits, such as, quote, where are you from? Or where were you born? The implication is that these people individuals are different, foreign, and less welcome. Certainly the context of the question is pertinent. The relationship to the individual and the generality of the inquiry to all present change the intent and impact of the message. But there are many other examples similarly that can be very destructive. To begin to understand the problem, I recommend you read and complete the exercise for your homework, recognizing microaggressions and the message they send. Harassment can be used to discredit a person, challenge one's professional status, or be sexual in nature. It is an act of systematic and/or unwanted actions, including threats and demands. Harassment is more common in hierarchical professions such as the entertainment industry, management, and medicine. A recent review of training programs found a higher incidence in surgery compared to other specialties. Verbal harassment was reported in one study by 63% of the respondents, and physical harassment by 15%. In addition, bullying is common. A recent UK survey reported 30% of the junior doctors had been bullied, most by senior doctors. In addition, harassment is not always recognized, and there is a need to improve situational awareness and provide tools to educate and mitigate behaviors. Another use of harassment is to question an individual's competence and accomplishments to discredit the individual, often with the goal to drive them out of the system. An important challenge for leadership in academic surgery is to define the line between, quote, high professional expectations and harassment, end quote. In response to their surveys, the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons and the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh have both initiated major educational campaigns over the last year and have apologized for discrimination, bullying, and sexual harassment. As our workforce demographic has changed and as our society has established rules for gender-based discourse, there is need to ensure that the environment of surgery is renewed to eliminate sexual harassment and bullying. Periodic surveys of the environment are necessary to assure that the behavior is not ignored. Explicit policies of expectations and safe avenues for reporting should exist. Clear expectations from leadership are required. As you heard mentioned earlier, at the Friday night banquet, the American Surgical Association invites you to participate in the recognition of those who have felt disrespected, harassed, excluded, or discriminated against in the surgical community. To demonstrate our present and future commitment to inclusivity and respect for all, ribbons will be available at the banquet for all attendees to wear as a symbol of support. I welcome you to join in this support. Continuous, ongoing self-assessment is a key to achieving tractable success in diversity and inclusivity, recognition of explicit and, more importantly, implicit bias, and development of emotional intelligence are necessary to mitigate the impact. The challenges of successful promotion and retention is infrequently due to overt discrimination, but rather unrecognized subtle organizational culture that predominantly affects women in URIM. The ideal academic department provides equal access to knowledge, opportunities, resources, recognition, and leadership roles for each member, while supporting the whole person and their life balance. As we apply our industry inquisitiveness and compassion to the challenges of current change and the demographics and societal expectations, surgery and the surgeon, I would propose, will again produce the changes needed to lead in medicine and in society. Our calling brings to us the best and the brightest future stars. This organization is living proof of the continuous evolution and constant infusion of the new leaders in academic medicine. The outlook is indeed encouraging. Hopefully, these thoughts, derived in part from the Ensuring Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in Academic Surgery work product, created by a cadre of dedicated, thoughtful members, will help to stimulate and encourage the process in our community. Our calling is to help ensure success for our students, residents, fellows, faculty, and peers. We are here because of this calling, and we accept it willingly. Our challenge is to recognize the evolution in our society, the corresponding changes needed, and to reach and maintain our goals. We need to produce sustained systems for assessment, direct programs, and benchmarks as needed to maintain success. I have great confidence our surgical academic families will achieve true equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we will greatly enhance our ultimate goal of doing what's right for our patients by providing an ideal environment for our faculty to produce optimal care. Thank you for your attention.